How much money do you make making content?
$65,000 a month.
A month?
Yeah.
How?
So people pay me to broadcast them on all platforms, whether they have me come out and film with them, whether I'm just repurposing their content, whether like no matter what, people want to make content, they want to have it be broadcast, they want to get views. And so they pay me in retainers up to $65,000 a month.
And what's the most profitable channel to create content on?
My favorite channel, that changes, depends, completely depends. Depends on who you are, what you're selling. So like, for example, I have some clients that sell info products. Usually a combination of YouTube and IG is the best for info. If you're a SaaS company, LinkedIn, YouTube, and IG, really great. I've seen some of my clients crush on Twitter. If you have a direct-to-consumer product, then TikTok's the best by far. So usually YouTube is great for nurturing and Instagram is really great for converting.
I've heard YouTube, it should be thought of as like a VSL, like a sales funnel, more than a content platform.
Yeah. It depends. So people can smell marketing from a mile away. So I hate watching everybody hates watching an ad. Every single person. There's not a single person on this planet Earth that's like, unless you're watching the Super Bowl, that you're like, I really want to watch an ad today. So I like the term like immersive VSL, where I'm almost being tricked into realizing that's a piece of content. I think someone that does this really great is Mr. Beast, obviously, is that like in every single video, he has some kind of challenge that's connected with Feastables, right? And so he's going to say like, basically, by the time you finish this Feastables bar, this action has to occur. I'm engaged in the content of what action has to happen versus, hey, this is my product, Feastable. Like, I don't really care about the product. So immersive VSLs, very, very similar, where I want to learn about whatever I'm going to be buying in the first place, but I have to trust you. And so there's some data that says like you're 52% more likely to buy from someone if they watch 20 minutes of a YouTube video from you. Like, that's helpful. Like, I'm more likely to trust you. In fact, I've seen this before where it's like someone says like, hey, you don't have to, but there's a click the link in the bio. I'm so much more likely to click that link if I've actually watched like 20 to 25 minutes of their content. And I mean, there's a lot of Google data on this of like, how many hours, how many touch points, like trust just can be quantified to sales. That's why YouTube works. It doesn't really need to happen for every single niche. And I think it's a mistake that a lot of people make, but.
Yeah. I've seen the other way that Mr. Beast does it too, is he will start sort of selling Feastables or talking about Feastables in his video, not a separate ad.
Yeah.
He just brings it up.
Yeah.
And before you have enough time to start fast forwarding, he stops talking about it and they kind of go back to the video, but then maybe 30 seconds or a minute later, he kind of brings it back in.
Yeah.
So he's not allowing you to fast forward through it.
Yeah.
But it's also not annoying or in your face. And so like I started seeing that, especially when he got really popular, like I think a couple of years ago when he became, a household name.
Yeah.
And I started watching some of his stuff and I noticed that it was integrated in a way that didn't annoy me.
Yeah.
And because I think there's this thing about the repetition, like now it's called touch points or how many minutes or how many hours.
I mean, at the end of the day, we don't like being marketed to. Like if I'm like, this is for X person, if it's like an infomercial, dude, I'm going to scroll past that so fast. Like, I don't want that. I want to chill with somebody. I want to laugh. I want to enjoy, like I'm on social media to be entertained. And so if the content I'm watching is like not entertaining, like most people aren't even watching content to be educated. I think like business people generally are, like people that are personal development niche, like you might watch a Tony Robbins video because you want to be motivated, but in general, we're wasting time. And so I do think like this whole world of like business niche content and info product marketing, like I think a lot of people kind of approach it the wrong way and they kind of just make ads. And I think that's a big mistake. I think in reality, if you just get views and entertain people and get trust, then it's just easier to sell your product. So to answer your initial question, like IG, I think is the best place and easiest place to do that for SaaS and info. And I think YouTube is the most valuable. If you spend more time with somebody, you're going to trust them more.
And how do you feel about starting on one platform versus going to another? Like, how do you advise your clients when starting to create content, or like, what's your strategy going into someone new?
So like, am I talking to someone that like has never made a video before?
Do you take those clients on?
No.
No. So yeah. Well, why don't you start with me? Like,
Okay.
why don't you look at me and you say, Kassidy, here's what I would do for you, or here's the strategy.
Yeah. So what you told me is that break it down. You're making 3 videos a week. That's the target, right?
Three podcast episodes a week.
Yeah. So the cool part about that is you have a lot of raw content. We kind of discussed already about some strategies that I would use to like maximize for different platforms. So, for example, if you're shooting a podcast, like in my opinion, if you're doing a podcast and you're doing it remotely, I wouldn't even post it in this day and age. I really wouldn't even take it. Like, I don't know anybody, I don't consume it, and I haven't talked to anybody that's consuming a content that's a video conference call. So I wouldn't recommend it. Those short form clips are going to do well. The long form videos are going to do well. I don't even want to watch a famous person talk to another famous person when it's a remote podcast. I don't want to do that.
Why is that?
I think people got tired of COVID. That's what happened a lot during COVID. I think people got tired of it, and it doesn't feel as natural or organic. It doesn't feel real. No one wants to be on Zoom. And so again, you associate it with work. So you don't want to do that.
So you're saying that even just like seeing what looks like a Zoom call is enough for people to be like, I'm out.
Yeah. And
because it reminds them of COVID and everything.
And also it's because it's easily made. So like everybody and their mother's posting their podcast, and it's like a video conferencing call. And it's like, that's just, in my opinion, it's just not valuable. You're not going to get like a raw, it's hard to get like a raw moment, right? Because it's like you and me are here, we're in this place. So it's like, I can see you. There's like an additional layer of like reference. There's a connection, right? We're both sitting here for a specific moment to do something. When it comes to content, like I think people want as much raw as possible. And so if it feels manufactured, if it feels like marketing, like no one's going to like that. To answer your question though, you're saying like, who would like if I were getting started or if I were taking your channel?
Yeah.
I think it doesn't make sense not to post on every single platform. I think no matter what you do, like if you're doing a podcast, if you're doing short form content, you should post on every single one and create that system. And I've found that some platforms highlight certain types of content more than others. I think some platforms are easier to grow on than others. And I think, like for example, I think of TikTok as like a testing platform. So no one really cares about someone's feed. Like if you go to someone's profile on TikTok, like you're not really like you're not looking at aesthetic. You're just looking at what's entertaining, what gets views.
And how often are you even going into someone's profile on a TikTok? In TikTok?
I mean, I do a lot, but I don't think people do.
I don't think anyone really does.
Yeah.
It's whatever videos are presented to them.
Yes. And then like you usually follow oh, what is this in reference to? What are the comments saying? Okay, I'm gonna hit the blue line. So I'm gonna it's more SEO based. But that gives us an opportunity, right? That means I can take a video, say we have a short form video from this podcast that there might be like 3 different hook opportunities. There might be 3 opportunities to take the first 3 seconds and make them different. Maybe we like the structure for the rest of the video. Maybe there's something that's really interesting, but the first 3 seconds are so fucking important that I'm like, okay, I really, really want to make sure that this works. What I might do is I might take 3 to 4 different hook variations. Cause if I'm like, I feel confident that the rest of this video is going to convert because it hits on these themes. It hits on tribal things. It definitely is going to get someone's reaction. The only way that I can accurately split test is by making 4 different videos and just changing the first 3 seconds. I've seen accounts that do this. We've done this, and that allows us to split test and say, okay, this is actually going to be pushed the most. Between these 4, this one's the one that gets the most amount of traction. So therefore, we're going to take this video, we'll post it on YouTube, we'll post it on IG.
So you're actually working with your clients, normal people, and saying, let's post the same video.
Just on TikTok.
Just on TikTok,
Yep.
but with different hooks.
Yep.
And then you're pulling the same one. Or you're pulling the highest performing video, and that's what you're posting on IG.
And the reason I like this is because you have to think about how each algorithm works, right? TikTok has been actually, just recently, TikTok announced how their algorithm works, and it's actually crazy. So they said that the like is the least valuable thing, comments is second least valuable, then it goes to share, then it goes to a watch time, and then it goes to replay. So TikTok values replay and watch time overall above everything else. Now, the other thing that's kind of interesting is that IG has talked about how they prioritize shares. The thing about shares, I mean, there's a lot of psychological frames that happen with it where like if I share a video with you, you're more likely to watch the full time of it. So like your watch time is going to be higher. But that's why I do like TikTok as like the greatest split testing, beta testing for content, because first off, it automatically promotes your content to people that don't follow you. Like when you follow someone on TikTok, you're less likely to see all of their content. You're not going to see every single video. So because it's going to show it to 250 brand new people, no matter what, like you're going to get a lot of data. This is so nerdy.
No. I think this is helpful for people to understand that are like just putting random content out there that it's hard, but they can do these things.
Yes. And use a platform like that because like, hey, if your video is getting 250 views, there's a reason. It's because your hook sucks.
Yeah.
Right. And if your video gets stopped at 1,000 views, there's a reason. It's the follow-up, like the first 10 seconds sucks. So like it allows you to really like look at the psychology of each video you're making and like really manufacture something that's actually going to get traction, not just comments, like not just hate, but actual traction because people are engaged the whole amount of time. So I also think that like TikTok wants you to post as much as you humanly can. Instagram doesn't really want you to do that. So I when I say post on every single platform, I mean it. I just think you have to treat each platform differently. That's a lot of work for somebody though. So like if you're in your shoes and you're like, I just got to do it by myself, or I have like an assistant or whatever, just post on every single platform the same video.
Yeah, and something else that I do that I think a lot of new creators can do, or people that are trying to start out creating content, is to do collabs.
Yeah,
because you're essentially borrowing an audience.
Yep,
and that's really helpful. So the videos and the podcasts that I've done, specifically with Chris Waldhouse, who he rescues horses down in Joshua Tree. And then there's one that we put out today with Patrick. They have a little bit larger audiences. They're well liked by their audiences.
Yep.
And so the views from non-followers and the shares and the saves, especially on stories and things like that, way higher on those videos because it was a specific collab. So I think if you're a new creator, now you're the expert. I'm not the expert. I don't have the following.
You're making a lot of content though.
I am making a lot of content. And that was the thing that really connected with my mentors. Yeah. Everything that they've been telling me. And I finally found my thing that I think I'm good at that I can replicate. And now as I'm getting into it, I can see the layers and the things and the possibilities of, oh, I do need someone to help me with that. I get it. And I'm confident and I feel better. And so like for the average person, like what's the point of even making content now? Like, is it all just a funnel back to something?
I don't think the average person should make content. I don't. And that's like, that loses me business. I don't really care. But I think the majority of people should not be posting videos because it's not that it's too saturated. I just think unless you actually are going to really try, it's not worth your time. Unless you're actually going to really, like your goal is to scale. If your goal is not to, get to 100,000 followers, I don't know why you're doing it. People are like, yeah, it's great to have 10,000. Oh, nice. I got 1 million views. That's not really valuable unless you're like stacking on top of things. Unless you're building a brand. And so I do think like if you're just like, making, shit posting and you're just like making memes and stuff, I think that's awesome. I think do that. But I see a lot of business owners that are like half-assing it and copying the wrong things. And in my opinion, it's just never going to net you a positive. And you're like, if everyone's going one direction, you have to go in the absolute opposite. So in my opinion, like, yeah, I definitely see a lot of shitty content. Yeah. And I don't think it's worth it. Yeah. I don't think it's worth the time. And I tell people like, don't. I have people that call me, like they schedule a call, they book a call with me. They're like, hey, I want to sell coaching. I want to do this. I'm like, what is your actual goal? What do you actually want to do? And then they tell me, well, I want to, have this other side business. I want to do coaching. I'm like, dude, it's not worth your time. These 5 people are already beating you. You're going to have to do this to beat them. That's going to cost you this much. And it's just not worth your time or investment. It's not, I can tell by your energy. If you are approaching content and you're saying, I want to make money next month, like it's not going to work.
Well, that's just delusional. Yeah. Like, I mean, how long would you say, even if someone invested, does it take before it really starts, if they're doing everything and they're doing it right, like how long does it before it takes off? If at all?
2 years.
2 years.
To be confident, like I've seen some people, they pop off in 6 months. I've seen some people, they pop off in a year. Like it's more so about how fast can you put out 1,000 shitty videos. If you can put out 1,000 shitty videos really, really fast, then you're going to get so much data. Like you actually put out the video and it's not just like Opus clip or some, like you actually put out a video, you study it, you learn from it, and you move on to the next one. You study it, learn from it. You incrementally improve. Yeah. It's going to take 1,000 videos. Yeah. And that takes about 2 years.
And so, you mentioned the hook.
Yeah.
How much, like how far outside of yourself do you have to get good at hooks? You know, because it feels like, because reels, the way I think about reels, they're like a fishing rod. They're a fishing reel.
Sure.
They go get you more fish.
Sure.
And then use stories and other posts to like nurture and bring them into your life, right? More raw content. And if the hook is that important, I don't know. I'm just battling with authenticity, I guess, is the question. Like, how do you battle creating hooks and being authentic, being yourself, and then like following through on the commitment or like creating engaging content?
So it depends on who you're talking to. People don't think about who they want to see their videos. They don't do that nearly enough. For example, someone that's in marketing, someone that makes content about content, right? Odds are you should not make videos about marketing, because if you make videos about marketing, the people who are going to watch that are like editors, other agency owners, other creatives, right? The people that you want to watch it, which are like business owners, they're not going to watch that content. Instead, you should be like, my goal is to get on their feeds. So who's my target demographic? Who do I want to buy from me? If I want, I had this, one of my first clients, she sold Etsy info products. So teaching people how to sell on Etsy, right? And target demographic was like corporate moms. So in reality, a lot of our content needed to just hit things that corporate moms cared about, not actually anything in relation to Etsy. Like Etsy was the end game, but like at the end of the day, we needed to hit like, how hard is it to work and be a mom at the same time? That kind of content would resonate so much more and have a broader TAM, because there's more people that are working as a mom than are wanting to sell on Etsy or wanting to have a side hustle. So think through who you want to reach before you even approach the content, because otherwise you're just like, I don't know, you're just like picking up the phone and talking to it and saying like, here's my tactical thing. Like no one cares. Mm-hmm. And so your goal is to get people to care. And so I'd just be super, like for me, like I probably won't make any videos about marketing. You won't see, if you scroll through my Instagram for the rest of this year, you're not going to see any video. Like it's so much more valuable for me to just make entertaining videos that get lots of views, because like I see, you know how like on Instagram, you can see like who likes stuff.
Yeah.
So if you follow somebody, like I always, in my reels, I'm like, like Alex Hormozi likes this vid, like, like I see this, and it's always like comedians. Mm-hmm. It's always like entertainers. And so if you know that like, okay, the person that I want to work with watches this when they're shitting, when they're on the toilet, then like, that's the type of content that I need to make, because that's going to get me their attention. That's going to get me their trust. Versus if I'm like, here's 3 hooks that you should use if you want to, like, no, my ideal client, the people I want to work with, that's not the content they're going to be watching. And so,
I think that's a really good frame that you said. I haven't heard it put that way before. I've heard, your ideal client and like who you want to work with, but I haven't heard you want to show up on their feed.
That's the only goal.
You want to show up on their feed. What are they watching? And because you're right, Alex Hormozi, maybe he does have a lot of business content, but man, you probably got to be really good or have something really unique that's going to show up.
He might be following Russell Brunson, but that's about it.
That's what I mean. Yeah. That's what I mean is like, for you, the ordinary starting out to show up on Alex's feed is going to be hard, but you just gave a little tip of go look at the reels and the things, the people that you follow, and you'll see what they liked. And so that shows you what you should be making to get onto their feed.
It just shows you what they're actually interested in. And like, there's a psychological frame of it too, but like, unless, like for example, if you were to just make content solely about boutique hotels, right? The first thing I'm going to do is going to say, okay, if I go to your profile, how many followers do you have? And if you have less than 50,000, do I trust you?
Yeah.
And most people don't have 50,000 followers.
No.
Right. And so you're not going to get 50,000 followers talking about boutique hotels.
No.
You're going to have to get on something much more tribal: health, relationships, finance, religion, and politics. Mm-hmm. Your core opinions on those things are going to create your little tribe.
Say those again.
Health, relationships, finance, politics, religion.
And so you're basically saying that whatever content you create, you should have some level of opinion on those.
You're not going to go viral unless your content hits one of those 5 things.
Okay. And so you need a controversial opinion.
You need an opinion. My friend Ryan calls it, I steal it nonstop, but he calls it the avocado theory. The theory is when you state an opinion, you can't just say like on social media, in a conversation, in a podcast, we can say like, oh, I like this. You can be passive about stuff. But on social media, you can't say, I like avocados. You can't. You have to say, I hate avocados. Or you have to say, I fucking love avocados and I hate anybody that doesn't like them. Right? Because that will at least incite, like, then I'm looking at the content and I'm thinking to myself, oh, do I like avocado? Does he hate me? Like, it makes me want to react emotionally. And that has to happen in the first 3 seconds. There's one client I have where anytime we want to go viral, and it happens without fail, every single time we post it, we posted the same style of video 12 plus times, and every single time it has gone viral. Every single time. And it's a video where he is on the street interviewing, and we've tested with 4 different people where he interviews different people, but it's like relatively scripted. But he says, how much do you pay your best worker? And the person responds and says, I pay them $3 to $5 an hour. Now, that in and of itself pisses a lot of people off. What is he talking about? Business owners know he's talking about VAs, right? People know he's talking about like, oh, you can find people in the Philippines that work for $3 to $5 an hour. That's awesome. But college students hate it. Like people that are socialists, like they hate it because it's like not paid enough.
Yep.
People that are like America First Republicans hate it because you're outsourcing jobs to people overseas. It hits a lot of these different things, which for him, like that's his opinion. That's what he thinks. So like, this is good to do. And most rational people that he wants to work with and want to work with him and want to learn from him, they're like, sweet. But like, the only reason I mention it is because we did it again. Like any month where I'm like, hey, his views are down. I'm like, when's the last time we posted a vid like that? So we posted one 3 hours ago. It has 200,000 views already. It'll get to 1.1. Like it's like mathematically it's going to get there. So it's like every content piece you put out has to hit something. And there's sub niches, right? So like in the status of relationships, there's, boyfriend, girlfriend, there's husband, wife, there's parenting. These are all subcategories that you can hit that are tribal. Like my wife, all of her content is like motherhood, parenting, right? So like, and whenever she sees something about like, the dad going to sleep or like she sends that video to me, I watch it. That's our thing. That's a tribal thing that she and I have that gets shared. So those are all like content things that we can tap into where we have belief systems. I have beliefs about what parenthood should be. I have beliefs about like what Christianity should be. I have beliefs about what fatherhood or friendship or relationships or marriage. Those are the best things that I should speak on or tap into if I want to go viral.
Do you think it's helping society to create content in that way?
For the right people, yes. For the right people, yes. You scroll through Gary Vee's content. I've been helped by viral content, right? Like my life's been changed. Who did I see? I saw Gary Vee. I saw Alex. I saw a Ryan Pineda podcast clip that led me to his podcast, that led me to a free e-course that was 3 hours long that changed my life. I watched a short form clip of Alex Hormozi saying some batshit crazy thing. I watched that 3 hour podcast with him and Graham Stephan. It was the second one they did. I listened to that podcast 4 times in like a 2 week period. Me and my wife listened to it together. I literally changed my whole ideology on life and as a result of that e-course and that podcast, I got 3 promotions in my job, started 2 businesses, and have actually built my life in the last 3 years from that. So it's like, I think the right people will take the right actions with the right content. The wrong people won't.
Do you think you would have found that path another way?
No. I talked to a lot of people. It's like the right thing at the right time, the right person saying the right thing at the right time. I have one friend, he mentioned there's a Luke Belmar thing he said. And I think Luke Belmar's an idiot. Like, dude, I don't know if you've seen those videos. There's videos of like him, like it's like him, like at like a playground. I don't know who people might not know who Luke Belmar is, but like the dude basically made an MLM and made a ton of money. Capital Club is like, that's basically what he did. And it was like, he made money from crypto. And then now he's like, he pretends like he's a genius or a glitch or whatever he said. He's an idiot. But like, I think that I've seen his content. That's what I walk away with. It pisses me off and I understand it. And I'm like, I think it's funny. I laugh at it. I laugh at people that make fun of him, right? I have a friend that's like, he watched a Luke Belmore podcast and had the same reaction that I had to an Alex Hormozi podcast. I've talked to people that had the same reaction to Gary Vee or Tony Robbins, right? John Maxwell. There's like all these people that say, yeah, my life was changed from this. And, we both love Dan Martell. Dude, if you look at his comment section on TikTok, people hate him. So like there's an element where it's like, you're just going to attract that. Does it help? Are those people helped? Like the average smart person doesn't comment on an Instagram video, right? I didn't comment on any of this stuff.
Yeah.
I just took action from it. So
I think that's important to remember.
Yeah.
What you just said, that the average smart person doesn't comment on a video. And so when you're looking at the comments, usually it's not people that are taking action on things in life. They're scrolling. I was just in the sauna at the gym a couple nights ago.
Okay.
And this is at a gym. It's definitely a younger crowd. It's in Tucson. It's in near the university.
Okay.
Really nice gym. First time I went to that sauna.
Yeah.
It was full and everybody had their phones out and everybody was scrolling in the sauna. I was like, I didn't even know your phone could survive that, but everyone was scrolling. Then they all emptied out. And then there was another guy that came in. He was older. He was scrolling and he with his volume up too. And I was like, I'm not going to say anything, but I was like, wow, people really are like addicted to the phones and they can't stop doing this. And so, like you said, I know that my life changed too by right time, right place with Dan and Rich and others in my life, and seeing the impact actually that Dan had real time outside of Canada and Kelowna and Dan and the book, just being in other entrepreneurship groups and out in public and hearing Dan's language.
Yeah.
Just, they don't know I'm a Dan guy, but just hearing people like, oh, I saw it real time over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that inspired me and motivated me to start doing this for real.
Yeah.
Because it's like, oh, my life changed, who I am changed, my trajectory changed because Dan decided to start making content.
Yeah.
And there is someone for everybody. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Yeah.
Right. And so there are people that I don't resonate with, but a lot of other people are getting, a lot of benefit from it. I think that's great. Andy
Elliott, one side, right? Like if you like David Goggins, Andy Elliott's one side. There's things that you can get from that person, but like some people, like I didn't even know in the sales world, it's like Andy Elliott or Jeremy Minor. And it's like, you have two opposing thoughts, their craziest videos are going to spark reactions from anybody. But at the end of the day, like, the thing I don't think is valuable are like the random prank vids. Like there's certain types of content where I'm like, okay, that really isn't super beneficial to people. But at the same time, dude, entertainment's entertainment. I would so much rather someone watch that type of content, get pissed off, take action from it. Like if you're someone that spends 2 hours a day on your phone versus 5 hours a day, you're 3 hours ahead of everybody else.
That's right.
So to me, the content's not what matters. It's like the culture.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's what you do with the information.
Yeah.
Right. And I love what Gary Vee's doing. I think if you just follow Gary Vee or Dan or Alex, like you're going to be successful. Right. Yeah. And they all have different philosophies, but you're going to be successful. And I think the difference is people that take action.
It's just like, just try. It really could be like, if you're like someone that's like, I'm just going to like, if you dedicate like 6 months to just like, I'm just going to read books.
Yeah.
You're going to be fine.
Mm-hmm.
6 months listening to podcasts, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, it's like the parents that are worried about being a good parent, so they read how to be a good parent. 100%. Like you're going to be fine.
Yeah, if you talk to someone that's like, I'm really scared about being a good dad. Like one of my employees just had his first kid, and like he's like like stressed out, talking about like I really want to make sure I'm a good dad. I really want to make sure I'm locked in. I'm caring for my wife. I'm like, dude, you're fine. Like you're already good. You're already okay.
That's right.
Yeah.
So your agency, you didn't start at $65K a month. Mm-mm. It took you a while to get there. Like what did it look like for you for the past, what has it been, like 3 years since you started?
Yeah, 2.5 years.
Yeah. So what does that look like for someone starting an agency, starting a business? Like how hard is it? How easy is it?
Dude, it sucks. Agencies fucking suck, dude. They really are. They really suck. They like, you know how like there's benefits to each business model, right? Like SaaS is great, so much upfront cost. Same with like digital product is great, serves a different thing. There's a lot of other pains that go with it. I think like, in my opinion, service-based things are awesome, but there's a downside to it. And the costs are heavy. I think this is kind of uncharted territory for a lot of people. So the people I'm competing with, they're like, there's really not many names of people that have existed for 3+ years. Most people quit.
Yeah.
I was talking to somebody yesterday. He was like, I quit. And like, it's so much easier to be like, to quit, launch a coaching program of how I hit, $30K a month and then just run with that. And you're doing coaching from now on. Like, it's so much easier to do that. That's why I respect the people that like eat shit nonstop and just really go for it. Cause I think, that's who I learned from. When I first started, I was working in corporate. I was making 6 figures. I had a second business that was doing about 50K a month, completely different niche, completely different thing that I was kind of tired of because it was like was doing Amazon FBA. That was my first little like side hustle. So I got to 50K a month and then I was like, really, this is like 5K a month profit.
Yeah.
And I just don't like every month I got stressed with how much credit card debt I had. And I was like, I just don't, it's like I'm sure it's like very similar with like Airbnb arbitrage where I'm like, yeah, sure. There's someone making money there. But like for me, the cost benefit, like the risk tolerance I have was just not there. So
Yeah, it's pretty thin on arbitrage.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I just didn't like it. I also like, I have a bunch of clients that are crushing it. I have a bunch of clients that like really do well, but yeah, it's just not for me. So I launched this. I watched podcasts. I watched clips. I was like, I understand it. I love studying it. I had a friend who I was like, dude, I want to run it for you. I think you got potential. Can I just launch you and just go and just, pay me as little as humanly possible. I just want to see what I could do with this. I think he paid me $1,500 a month. I was putting out 2 to 3 YouTube videos a week. And I learned a lot. He basically paid me to learn and optimize. He was paying as much as like he'd pay a VA. And then there was a month that, he made $100K in one night from an upsell based on the content we were doing. And I was like, oh, I can do this. I'm pretty good at this. And then I found another client, my first like high ticket client. I charged her $7K a month. And within 3 months, we got her 30,000 subscribers. We got her to her first $1 million a month in revenue. And that was like, whoa. She told me like, Grant, we hit our first $1 million a month. I was like, but I'm charging you 7.
Yeah.
And I was like, I run all of it.
Yeah.
So like, I'm really good at what I do, but I got to figure out how I'm going to make money. So I think like that was the first 6 months was like 10 to 15K a month. I wasn't paying myself anything. I was relying on my income and savings. And it just gave me the courage to kind of quit my day job. I was working in IT as a project manager. It gave me courage to quit. I wanted to move. And so I was like, wife, kids, we're going to move. We're going to go. We're going to try this out. And I'm really just going to grind this. And, I think the first probably 6 months, I was paying myself like maybe $3,000 a month, living off of savings. And then kept on getting clients. No one fired us. And we kept on adding services. No one fired us. And yeah, we just kind of been stacking since starting. Probably the biggest thing that I'm proud of, which is different, and I think big on our success, is that I've only churned 2 clients. So, and those 2 clients stopped working with me after 9 months.
Wow. And
one quit content altogether. He shifted to a different business. The other one just wanted to downsize. And so both positive relations, both positive, like in the video agency world and in the ads world, like you usually get fired every 3 months. And so the fact that is what happens, like was a huge, like that pumped me up. I was super gassed about that. There's obviously been some times where it's like, hey, we'll do a month contract. Does this fit? All right, sweet. No, it doesn't fit. Cool. We'll move on. But like in most cases, when we sign something, it's cool that like the relationships we build are like long-term. Most of my clients are like a year plus, 2 years plus.
How do you create that or set that up from the beginning to even have that expectation or want that to be?
Yeah. I mean, we start off with like a 3-month engagement, and usually like, I'm not trying to pitch, but like it's helpful for me. It's identifying what are we testing first, and then what's actually the win you're going for. Because at first people sign up and they're like, I want the service, but really they want something else. At first you want views, but really you want something else. So it's about like identifying how quickly can I be the person that understands your brand and understands what you actually want. And I can simplify. And then usually I'm just trying to make sure that my price points, like there's a lot of people on homie deals where I'm like, I want to make sure my price points are good enough where I can make my profit, but also good enough where it's too painful to replace us because we have too much knowledge of what you wanted to do. We're too good at it, and to replace us to get someone else would take months to fix.
Yeah, so you're basically delivering high value. You're not going to be the cheapest. And the only reason you're not pitching, I think it's important for people to hear this because pricing is kind of like a science with agencies.
Yeah.
And I also don't think people understand the value that can come out of having someone like you on the social media team. And so your pricing right now is, or I don't know if it is right now, but basically it's a little painful maybe.
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're not getting views or it's taking a while to like build up steam and build the engine, but then you know, one pops or another pops, or you're starting to bring in actual money off of these videos or the views even just on AdSense, right? Like that's another thing that we have, you know, haven't even talked about, but then you want to be sticky. Yeah. Like, and that's advice for anyone that's like an agency owner or buying software or implementing software. You want to be sticky.
Yep.
You want to be integrated into the operations, into the success of the machine.
Yeah. Everybody wants their guy, right? And like, even when you think about coaching, right? Everybody wants their coach. They want like, oh, I trust this person. And so like, you know, but the odds of you continually paying someone like $25,000, $30,000 a year, right, for coaching is limited when the information is the only thing that's valuable. So that's why I do think like service-based stuff is great because yes, there's a launch period. Yes, there's pain in it. Yes, there has to be expectations set. But at the end of the day, when you're running like, you think about organic content essentially being your platform, figuring out which ad materials would work. And then you're figuring out your YouTube content, which will be what nurturing content will work. And then you're thinking about your email list and how this is all supposed to shape together. There's very few people that are able to think cohesively throughout all those things. And I think most agencies should focus, or most people should hire agencies that focus on like one thing. Anybody that does like a full stuff, like usually people just kind of are let down from that. Like agencies constantly overpromise and underdeliver. So that's where, in my opinion, like the best relationships we had are always focused on like, first, brand-wise, are we aligned on the timelines? Because if I feel like I have to make a video for you tomorrow and it has to make you $1 million, that's gonna be pretty tough.
Yeah.
And also if it's your first time making content, there's no amount of money you can pay me at this point that will be like, yeah, it's worth the pain to coach you to do that. Like I want to see you've tried because then I can fix something. Yeah. Like it's so much easier for me to take an account that has 100,000 subscribers that's views are down and say, these are the tweaks I'd make. These are the ideas I'd have to relaunch. That's so much more fun than no one cares about you. Let me just try to help you launch.
Because it's going to be hard and painful. And like, if you guys don't know each other, then you got to build a relationship. So you're doing a lot all at once, just in the beginning.
1,000%.
Yeah. So going back to you talking to your wife about going all in.
Yeah.
What was that conversation like? And how meaningful was it, or how difficult was it?
My wife and I, like, I'm always 3 months ahead of her. So when I said, I love you, she said, okay, Mr. L word, and closed the door in my face. That was our dating relationship. And then 3 months later, she was like, I love you. You know, like, and you know, getting married, I want to get married like 3 months before I proposed. And she was like, I'm not ready. Like each tier of that. And I think having kids, each season of our life, that was kind of like what it was. So when I said I wanted to move, it was a long period of time. We had picked places, we were looking at stuff, and let's just go for it. Dive in. Like I'm like I don't know if you like Enneagram, but like type 7, I'm like a dog. I'm like, where's the squirrel? Let's run after it. Mm-hmm. She's not that way. She's much more inquisitive. She's much slower. She's much more patient. So that conversation, it took a lot for her to get the courage for it. And then even after moving, it was a hard move for her. I mean, moving away from family, it's hard. We didn't even look at the house that we moved into. We moved from Pennsylvania to Florida. We didn't even look at the house. Within the first month, an alligator ate a woman on our street.
No way.
Yes. Yes. And we saw the news report, and it was like, there's 2 alligators. A woman got eaten by 2 alligators. We caught one. There was a 14-foot one that we couldn't find. And then we went to the pond and we saw
you saw the 14-foot one.
And so like that was a big adjustment for her. She's like, we have to move. You know, we moved here, we have to move again. There was a shootout. Someone was hiding in we moved to like, we thought it looked good, but like, you know, you can know how people can stage houses. Like,
oh yeah.
it was not a good location. It was not.
So you moved from Pennsylvania to Florida, sight unseen.
Yeah.
And you experienced Florida Man and Florida Gator.
Yes.
All in your neighborhood.
Within a man was hiding after shooting somebody. He was hiding out from a manhunt in the house across the street from us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was her first month. Meanwhile, I'm like traveling, trying to launch this biz, trying to film with people, trying to do stuff. So she was an absolute trooper. I think it took her a while to get accustomed to it. But the thing the thing I love about her, which is I don't gas her up enough, but a lot of people, you might have like a wife or a partner that's like, I'm in it with you, let's do this together. And you might have a wife that's more like a cheerleader. And I would categorize her more as like a cheerleader type. But dude, it takes so much effort. Like I'm here, last week I was in Florida. I was in New York for 4 days. And I came back for 1 day and I'm here in Arizona for 5 days. And she is home with our 2 kids and pregnant. Right. And so like that, it takes another beast of a woman to be able to do that. And I don't know if that's just been trained into her like since throughout our marriage, but yeah, both of us kind of had this unsettling feeling of like, we don't want to be the people that just live in the same place for the rest of our lives. Mm-hmm. And so that initial decision was like, Grant, quit your job, move. It was a lot and it was really hard, but both of us just wanted to change stuff up.
Yeah.
And I think, I'll never regret making that decision. I might regret how we did it. And I think we could have done it more wisely, but like, yeah, I'll never regret going for it. Cause yeah, it's just memory.
Yeah. I got to the point, it took me a while to work myself up to leaving corporate, leaving consulting.
Yeah.
Because my consulting gig was really just another corporate job, just at a higher rate.
Yeah.
And to leave that, to say I'm going to go do a podcast.
Yeah.
And be a full-time real estate investor, which even now I'm like, well, I think I'm going to focus mainly on the podcast.
Yeah.
I'm still going to invest in hotels and that stuff, but it's going to be less because this is so important. I'm having so much fun.
Yeah.
So to like have the conversation with your spouse and be like, I'm going to go be a YouTuber,
Yeah.
like it's pretty crazy. So I feel so grateful, and I agree with you. I don't gas her up enough either, but there's so many moments I'm so grateful that I have a wife that is like actively supporting me and pushing me to go do this.
Yeah.
And it feels so great and authentic. And I think if you're looking at your spouse and you're like, man, would they let me, or would they support me in my dreams? And if that's a no, or it doesn't feel good, I mean, honestly, like evaluate what you want in life and the kind of relationship that you have.
How did you guys meet?
We met at work. Oh, this is funny. We were so into our work. We've always been so into our work. And that's why this is so much fun, is doing the podcast and like focusing on content and like going and meeting people and getting outside of corporate. And because I was an engineer, she got put on my project. She was an environmental scientist, and we needed some permitting and some environmental science work. And so I was the lead engineer. We met, kind of immediately felt it, right? Love at first sight. Spent way too much time on that small project just because we want to spend more time together. And then did all the work activities together, the happy hours, the this. And I was nervous about dating a coworker, but she actually got my number, and we ended up at a happy hour, and then we ended up going on a first date. We went on a run for like a mile and then just went and got drinks and ate. And then I proposed in the parking garage. So like proposed at work. And then my boss was our officiant. So it was like,
nice.
Looking back, I was like, God, like work was our life.
Yeah.
Work was our life. But she is ride or die. She's ride or die. And she balances my energy too. I'm not as much of a dog and a squirrel. But I am 3 months ahead, 6 months ahead. But she definitely knows how to ask the right questions and get me focused on what the true path is, or if I'm getting distracted on certain things. So yeah, I love that. And she's going through her own journey, which is great. So
what's one tip you would give to someone looking for their spouse?
What's one tip I would give to people looking for a spouse? You have to feel like you can be your authentic self around them, and that you're not putting on a face. They have to be their authentic self around you, and I would say around other people. Find the person that is themselves around you, around their parents, and around their friends. And then they're going to be an authentic person and you can trust them.
Do you believe in soulmates?
Do I believe in soulmates? The logical side of my brain says there's too many people on this earth to have just one person that's like your soulmate. But I can't see myself experiencing life without my wife. And you cultivate this relationship and this connection. Because I am not who I was when we met or when we got married. She is not either. But you create these new versions of yourself along the way and the experiences that only you two can truly understand. You can look into each other's eyes, just like you and I are doing right now. You can look into each other's eyes and understand so deep the connection that you have and the experiences that you've had. It's something that's unspeakable, really. And so that is really what I think a soulmate is. You can have love at first sight. You can have the connection. There are people that I'm sure, like, I've been searching for you my whole life. You are my soulmate immediately. I'm sure there are those. I think the cultivation of the relationship as you grow into yourselves creates for me that ultimate connection. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah. Should every guy propose to their girlfriend?
She is not off market until you lock it down. Just because you think you're in a relationship with her because she's over every night and you call yourself boyfriend and girlfriend does not mean she is off the market until you lock it down. Until there's a rock, until there's a ring on that finger, it is not locked down. It is not official. And I got that piece of advice from my brother-in-law. And that was before I was engaged. He said that to me and I was like, oh shit, he's right.
Yeah.
He's right. You got to take it seriously.
Yeah. Do you think guys don't take it seriously enough?
100%. I was in the sauna and these two guys, and it might just be locker room talk. The way they were talking about their girlfriends and, oh, I think I might break up with her. Yeah, I'm going to make this girl my next victim. Like, I didn't realize people still talked about women that way. Like, honestly, like, I understand having preferences and what you want. I think if you know yourself, I think you need to be true to yourself. That's what it comes down to. I think you shouldn't lie to a girl and say, I'm serious, I'm committed, I'm monogamous, it's just you and me. Because then if you know yourself and you know you're going to go cheat or if you know you're going to go do whatever, then just be honest. Just be honest and upfront. Like, there's people that can go just like hook up and do that stuff and be fine with it. And if they're honest with each other and that's what they want to do, then go do that. If you're really wanting a relationship, and I think just because your parents and society tells you that you want a relationship and to be married, like, I think you have to go into it expecting that you're going to get married. And I mean that just to say, to take it seriously. Like, if you're going to enter into a relationship, you're basically evaluating whether or not you guys are going to be getting married or not. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, what are you doing? That doesn't mean you have to get married right away. That doesn't mean anything. But I used to, there's people that say like, oh, we're going to move in together and we're just going to try it out. You already failed. You already got 1 foot in the door, 1 foot out the door. If you're saying we're just going to try out if we can live together. No, you got to go in and make it succeed. And then if it doesn't, it doesn't. Like, you got to go all in and give it your all. And then if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work.
Hookup culture is killing millennials.
Hookup culture is killing millennials?
Yeah.
Killing?
Yeah. Because here's the deal. Here's what happens, right? Is that for some reason, there's this ideation that, casual dating, that you can just find someone on Tinder. Like, the amount of guys I talk to that have these apps open, and to be honest, they're talking to 20 girls at a time. And then I talk to them and I'm like, who's sticking out? Like, they might find a connection with somebody. And then 3 days later, there's a thought in their mind where it's like, I could just go swipe right and find somebody else. And so we live in this swipe right culture where even if you find someone that you feel like you're compatible with, the thought in the back of your mind, it's almost like gambling. It's an addict thing. It's like porn, where you're going to swipe right and think, oh, there's another video, there's another thing, there's another person that might be better. And the idea of new is more attractive than commitment. And I think what ends up happening in that world is that you have a lot of really depressed 30-year-olds, really depressed 40-year-olds. You have a lot of people that no longer want to have kids, that are treating dogs as if they're kids. And you have this really lonely culture where I think it affects women more than it affects men, because women are lowering their standards to meet guys on these apps, and they're not actually finding high value guys. And as a result, there's a lot of older women that are single, and it's statistical fact that we have an issue with like what's the term,
birth rate?
Yeah, birth rate has never been lower.
Yeah.
I think it's because of hookup culture. I think it's because we've, I'm not trying to sound super traditional, but we've really demonized stable homes. We've demonized like stable relations. We've demonized like the idea of commitment to someone in particular. And I'm not like, I am the king of commitment. I'm going to say it. Like, I really am. Like, I liked my wife when I was 11 years old. When I was 15, I told my dad I was going to marry her, and he was like, chill, bro, chill out.
Your now wife.
Yeah. And then she didn't like me until I was 17. Until we were like 17, she was 18. We started dating, got married at 20. And I couldn't drink at my bachelor party. I could drink on my honeymoon, but it's because we went to the Bahamas. But went to Jamaica. But at the same time, like, I committed to her, and yes, yeah, the idea of soulmate, like, no, like, there's probably other people in this world I'm more compatible with, but the idea that I can go home and find someone that is going to be with me, committed to me, caring for me, and I can care for, no matter what season we're in, no matter what health we deal with, no matter what like issues are facing us. That sounds nice in culture. That sounds like a Hallmark movie, but no one actually goes for it. There's no guy that's like, I'm actually going to commit to this girl. There's very few girls that are like, I'm looking for a guy that's wanting that long-term relationship. And as a result, it's created this dynamic where we kind of just give ourselves to each other, and we're very focused on the idea of dating, the idea of like, we enjoy that first couple months of like figuring each other out. And I don't know. I think it hurts more than it helps. I'm not saying that everybody should get married at 20. I think that's a big mistake too. I'm not saying that like that. I'm glad we've gotten through a lot of shit, but like, I'm glad. I just think at the end of the day, if you're, and the reason I'm talking about this, right? Let's as I'm asking these questions, because I'm trying to show you like, no one is going to care about us talking about virality, but your opinion about that connects with someone so much more. My opinion about this, right? Like the fact that I'm a dad, right? If you're a dad, we kind of have this thing where like we understand each other. Mm-hmm. The fact that I'm a husband, if you're a husband and you're like, my wife's having a tough night, I just want to care for her, I'm just going to be with her, can't hang out. Like, I'm going to get it. I'm going to understand it. Or I miss my wife, I don't want to spend time with you. I get it. I understand it. And so that's the topic that people should be talking about more, not these like opinions, not these like marketing things, not these tactics, just because at the end of the day, I trust you more if I know that for you, that's how you approach your wife. Like the fact that you trust her this way, the fact that you see her as your ride or die, the fact that you see her as this, like, I can see that. I hear that from you on this podcast, and then I think about your stories where you're working out with her. And I'm like, sweet, nice. I have these references where this person of who Kassidy is, I trust you more in this context. And I trust your opinion on this because you have authority on that opinion. That's what people should talk about in content. No one cares how many views I get. No one cares if I get 100 million views or I've generated, $10 million. No one cares. It's like, do you trust me? Or trust that I can relate to you where you're at. And odds are, if you're looking for a cracked out kid who's an 18-year-old editor, like, you're not going to want to work with me. Mm-hmm. But if you're like, oh, I want someone that can understand like my dynamic with my family, my belief systems. If you're a Christian, right? Like you might trust me more because of the things that are associated with that, because my opinions, my thoughts. And that's what content is. That's what nurturing content is. And so I could ask you those hook questions all day. And like, if you're going to get views, that's how you're going to get views.
Yeah, I don't think anyone's asked me those questions in a long time. I haven't spoken on relationships. It's not that I don't have opinions or that I don't think about it or that I don't care about it. I just don't think I've had anyone ask me or I've talked about that. Part of that comes from the post-COVID, like the loneliness, the heads down in the work, like the grinding and like just talking about work all the time and like, you know, all of that.
But think about it this way. What's something that every single person has in common?
Yeah.
Right? Every single person has a relationship. Every single person has a friendship. Mm-hmm. And so if you talk about friendship, I have someone I'm thinking about in my head. If you say a best friend should always do this, I think to myself, does my best friend do that?
So the thing that I think is hard for me and others maybe is, what does that have to do with content that I'm making? Or why would I tell a story about that? Or why would I talk about that?
Really, how are you going to make money talking about that?
Not necessarily how am I going to make money, but like, why would anyone care? But I guess it is sort of about, not directly how am I going to make money, but how does that then tie back to my business? So yes, how do I make money? But then how does that tie back to my business?
If you are more known, you have more opportunities. So it's like, you know, I was talking to somebody earlier today where I was I was talking about the idea of like discipline. And I have these lazy friends. I have lazy friends. Not close friends, but friends I'm trying to help out. And they're lazy. And I say like, hey, you know, if they want a job or they want to make money, I'm saying like, how many applications have you sent? You know, and because I remember when I was 20 through 22 years old, I just gotten fired from being a QA engineer, quality assurance engineer from QVC.
You work for QVC?
I used to work for QVC. Yeah.
Oh, that's our local. Yeah, that's our local grocery up in Washington.
Wait, QVC, the network, the TV network.
Oh, the TV network.
TV
okay,
network.
Sorry. Yeah.
So I used to work for them, and I got fired. And then after I got fired, I was like, I found out my wife was pregnant with our first kid, and I was like, well, shit, I gotta make money. And so it was non-negotiable for me. I'm gonna send 50 applications a day. I'm just gonna do this. And I sent that for 7 days, you know, 50. That wasn't like an option. That wasn't discipline. That wasn't me waking up. That was like desperation. And so if I ask somebody and I'm like, hey, you know, how many applications have you sent if you're trying to get a job? They're like 7 this week. You're knocking on 7 doors. Do you think that I'm going to have better results knocking on 50 doors a day versus you knocking on 1 door a day?
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's the same with content. You're going to have more opportunities with the more doors you knock on. Sure, some of them won't open. And sure, like, you know, some of them might open and it might not be the right thing. But at the end of the day, if you knock on 50 every single day, it's going to work out. So you'd making content about your relationships. Like, again, when we talk about the currency of trust, you say the velocity of money, the currency of trust, right? Like, I trust you, so I'm more likely to do business with you because of X, right? If I trust you, I want to work with you. I don't buy from people I don't trust. There's a study that shows that like CEOs that are public, their brands do, I think, like 56% better, right? Because you trust them. You trust, Steve Jobs. You trust Elon Musk if you want to. You can trust, I don't know, Jeff Bezos, whoever. Like, think about these major brands. Most of them have a forward-facing CEO that, like in the fact, like that's why Mark Zuckerberg's like doing the whole brand regen.
I love it, honestly.
Yeah, he looks great, dude.
Yeah, I love it.
But like, because he wants to be trusted. Mm-hmm. And so, do you think it's good for the brand for him to be on a surfboard with an American flag? Like, who knows?
We don't know yet.
But you might trust him more.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you say like, why do I make content talking about my belief systems? It's like, people are scared about getting canceled or anything like that. It's not about, like, I would rather people know straight up. Like, for example, if you hate God and you hate people that love God, then it's a good chance that you don't want to talk to me, right? If I see someone, that has purple hair, mm-hmm. I love them, but there's a good chance that our value systems are probably not going to be aligned. So like that branding goes everywhere. I might and I think on content, it should be the same way where it's like, hey, if it's your public persona, I want to know what you believe in. I'm not saying you should piss off every single person. I'm not saying you should be Andy Elliott saying, take your shirt off, and if you're fat, I don't want to talk to you. Like, I'm not saying that. There's levels to it, but I want to know what you believe in. And I think people on your podcast want to know what you believe in because, every person that you've talked about, probably every person that you're referencing in your mind of their podcast, let's say every major person, Mel Robbins, let's say
Chris
Williamson, Joe Rogan, Stephen Bartlett. I have a good understanding of what they believe in. It may not be things I totally agree with, but I have a good understanding that if we had a conversation, I wouldn't have to guess what their belief systems are. I see it in their content, I see it in their voice, and their viral clips show it. So that's where just volume helps. And at the end of the day, it's this thing that it's like this non-trackable ROI thing, but then it's this like waterfall effect. When you see the results of it, you're like, whoa, where did this come from? And in reality, that's actually the most positive, like that's the most ROI. It's like this thing that's going to like chink at it. And you're like, you know, you're hitting this mountain, you're trying to mine, and you're like, I don't know if there's a dime on this other side, but we're going to keep going for it. But once you hit it, then it's going to beat all ad spend. It's going to beat all other forms of marketing.
And that, folks, is why I'm doing the podcast, is because Grant just gave me a masterclass on how to be better at the podcast, what to focus on, the types of questions I should be asking and answering myself. And so I want to have these types of conversations, not only so that I can learn, but so that other people can hear them and they can learn too, and they can trust you, they can trust me, and they can start to improve their lives a little bit, even if it's through content or whatever they do. So Grant, I appreciate this so much. I think you're super intelligent.
Thanks.
I think it's just a matter of time before you go. Your Dave Ramsey reels are hilarious. You like everyone go to his profile. They're probably some of the funniest things on the internet. Honestly, they're probably some of the funniest things on the internet. And what's your Instagram handle?
I am Grant Owen.
I am Grant Owen.
Can I give like one piece of tactical for
yeah,
people
for
watching?
sure. Yeah,
so my thought process, so if you're watching this and your goal is you want to make content for your business, that's probably why you're watching a video like this. What I suggest is make 1,000 shitty videos. The person that's willing to do that, it's going to work out for you. You're going to benefit from it. I would start, if you're scared of talking to a camera, I would start with 3 stories a day. Kassidy does this. A lot of people do this. 3 stories a day, you talk to your camera, try to be as succinct as possible, try to communicate in less than 45 seconds. Really, really focus on the first 10 seconds of your video, no matter what. The first 10 seconds are the only thing that matters. Your first sentence is the only thing that matters. Don't say, hey, it's blank. Say what statement it is, right? Like, I hate avocados. That's a better hook than, hi, my name is Grant Owen, and I don't really like avocados. Remove ums, all the basics, but anybody can make content. Being interesting is really, really difficult. And so those reps will be massively helpful. And if you want to make content at scale, start there and then post everywhere.
That's 1,000 pieces of content.
If you're willing to put 1,000 pieces of content out and you're actually going to improve every single time, I don't see how you don't win.
Okay.
I don't see how you don't go viral.
Because it used to be 100 and now it's 1,000.
Yeah, I don't think I've posted 100 pieces. Like I posted thousands. And so we have enough data. Like we post roughly 2,000 times a month. And so, you know, like the amount, like virality comes when you're willing to post 2,000 times a month.
And then look at yourself in the content, watch yourself do it.
Yeah.
Be willing to be honest about where you need to improve and then improve every single time. If it's getting rid of one, if it's looking directly in the camera.
And almost every single time it's what the topic's about and what the first 3 seconds are. Almost every single time. That's what it is.
Yeah. Hear what Grant said with, even on your stories, whatever content you're doing, don't say, hey guys, happy Monday. Don't say any of that. Literally just start saying the thing that you want to say and your content will get better.
Yeah.
Do not do the millennial intro. Like that's what I call that. I call it the millennial intro because that's how we opened any conversation in a classroom and whatever. And so just say what you freaking want to say, which means you have to figure out what you actually want to say too.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, again, I am Grant Owen on Instagram. I appreciate you so much. And for those that are wondering, we talked about this being real or not real or like fabricated content. We just agreed to do this podcast like a couple of days ago. I didn't know Grant was gonna be in town, but we made this happen and he's swinging by. So I really appreciate you, dude.
Yeah.
And everyone go follow Grant. And if you need some help creating content, get a hold of him and just follow his stuff for some good laughs on his first class upgrades.
Thank you.
He also showcases very cringy content at times to teach. Yeah. So
my feed is not marketing content. That's not what I see on my Instagram.
It is not marketing content. It is some crazy stuff. And then his Dave Ramsey clips and everything else that he's posted. So anyways, as always, everybody, really appreciate you. Love you. This has been For Your Own Good. Peace.